In 2020, it took days to find out who won the White House and even longer to learn about Congress. So you might be wondering when we'll get the results this time around. My panel is back with me to discuss. So, David, you're going through all the different scenarios here. A lot of these swing states, there are major factors that could impact the timing of the projections.
I am also wondering when we're going to get the result, just so you know.
But when you'll sleep again.
Some of the battleground states have changed some of their rules around counting and processing of ballots. Some have not. But I would say if you look at states like Pennsylvania, which cannot process ballots until Election Day itself, that means they can't open the envelope, flatten it out, do anything to prepare to start counting. And there's still going to be not as much mail balloting as in 2020, Manu, but a significant amount. But look here, Wisconsin also can't process until Election Day. And then go to the bottom of that list, Nevada and Arizona, there are tons of mail ballots that do not yet get counted on election night. So I would say the two states that are not on there, Georgia and North Carolina, we're hoping for some quick counts early in the evening, see what the state of play is there. But Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, we're going to wait a while.
But, you know, Georgia and North Carolina, they have a history of fast counts. And there are also states that if they both look good for Harris, that is a big sign that she's going to have a good night. But if they both look good for Trump, it means she is really dependent on getting Pennsylvania. And, you know, even though...
Which doesn't necessarily mean it'll be a bad night. It just means it's going to be a long
That's right.
wait.
It'll be a long
exactly.
night. You know, it is true that it took until Saturday last time to declare a winner, with the results finally coming through in Pennsylvania. But in 2016, also a very close election, we knew Wednesday morning who had won that race.
Even though Trump said this on the election night, even though the race had not been called and had been maybe trending even Joe Biden's direction.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
I think you can bet Trump is going to do the exact same thing this time.
I think that the chances that he would accept the results are relatively low now, mainly because he and his staff believe it's over. They believe that they've won. And so I think it would be an authentic shock to him if he does not win the presidency. And there's been a lot of rhetoric out there already calling into question things that are happening in Georgia, things that are happening in Pennsylvania. That's why we've tried to write a lot about trying to get people just to stay calm and understand what David was just talking about, that it takes a while to count these votes. Like, the last thing the country needs when people don't trust institutions is now for people to not even trust the election process, and we've seen a rise in that, and that's just not a good thing for democracy.
So very quickly, how will the Harris campaign respond if Trump does that?
Well, they're prepared. I mean, they have lawyers at the ready because they do expect Donald Trump to declare that he won the way he did in 2020. I mean, he's already saying that illegal ballots were cast in Pennsylvania, which were not. They're reviewing whether ineligible voters are on a registration list. That doesn't mean that illegal ballots were cast. So he's already laying the groundwork to contest the result.
And that means it could go to the courts, and this could take some time to play out. Former President Bill Clinton has been barnstorming the country on Kamala Harris's behalf, but he has said little to the media until CNN's Isaac Dovere snagged the only interview he's given since he hit the trail. And Clinton got candid about Democrats' fears that America might not, quote, survive 4 years of Trump.
I think you have to look at what the definition of survival is. You can put me on a breathing tube tonight, but it wouldn't be like surviving, like I'm surviving now. Yeah. And the same thing's true in politics. I don't know if we can survive or not. I think it would be a travesty if he became president again.
And Isaac Dovere joins me now to talk more about his exclusive interview with the former president. Wow, he really talked about a lot with you in this article. So you were sitting on his campaign bus with him in Michigan. Give us a sense on your takeaways from this and just the unique way that the campaign is deploying him right now.
Well, he talks a lot about the vantage point that he has as the only person on the planet who has done the job of being president and knows both of the candidates running. And he says to people on the trail, and it should be said, he's been out there. We did an almost 11-hour day on Wednesday. He's been doing that almost every day for the last 3 weeks, a more active schedule than Kamala Harris or Donald Trump or anybody else. Tim Walz, J.D. Vance, Joe Biden, Barack Obama.
What's he like on the trail?
He is quieter than he was. There's no roaring oratory, but there is this sort of one-way conversation or one-way chat that he's having with people, and they are hanging on it. But from the beginning he said, I want to go to places where presidents haven't gone before. And so there was one of the stops we did on Wednesday was in a place called South Haven, Michigan. He was standing on the porch of somebody's house, right? The former president of the United States talking to maybe 200 people on this little unassuming street in Michigan, trying to find those Democrats, those people who are maybe undecided still, or even Republicans who are not so into what Donald Trump has been saying, maybe have concerns about the economy, and speaking to them and saying, look at her plans, and this is why you should believe in her, and this is the kind of country you should believe
Let's talk about a little bit more about what he told you. He said, according in a quote, he's concerned about Trump's long-term impacts if Trump wins or loses. He said this to you. He said, a lot of people just can't believe how many voters in America agree that he doesn't make sense, agree that he's advocating for things that we bad, referring to Trump, but somehow think that if the experience was good for them back then, it was magically his doing and everything was fine.
Yeah, and this is, at the beginning of that quote, he said, this maybe is what happened in the 1930s when fascism was spreading. So this is Bill Clinton saying he likes Kamala Harris, he thinks that she should be elected, but he is worried about what happens no matter what here. There is a problem in our politics, he says, that is deeper and is going to be with us for a while, and it's Donald Trump's fault, he says.
And you also talked to him about the former president, former president, George W. Bush,
yes,
who they've maintained a close relationship with over the years with Bush, but Bush we have not heard from publicly. What did he tell you about Bush?
He said he was okay with it. He said Bush doesn't get enough credit for speaking out in favor of immigration, and he sort of implied that he knew where Bush was on this, but he said Bush doesn't want to betray the Republican Party that he's been with his whole life.
Because obviously went after his brother, Jeb Bush, and he told you this about Colin Allred, who's running against Ted Cruz in Texas. He said he'll tell anybody that he's a good guy, referring to Colin Allred, but he wouldn't say who he would vote.
Yes, and I should say that I talked to Bush, somebody close to Bush about this. I read the comments from Clinton, and the person said he's not going to get involved in presidential politics, but he's helping out on the Senate. I said, what, does that helping out include Ted Cruz? And the person wouldn't comment on that.